It's another book chat, guys.
Gosh, this light is bright. Tayari Jones, Silver Sparrow. Now, I'm going to be real, right? American Marriage is one of those books that will forever be, listen, one of my top 5. That's it. If not one of my top 5, one of my top 3 fictional books. It's hard to top that. And when I went and did my research, I realised she wrote Silver Sparrow before she wrote American Marriage. So she wasn't even trying to top it. Pardon me, that's a bit rude. I don't even know if she will try to top an American Marriage, because it was that incredible of a book. But anyway, we're here to talk about Silver Sparrow. I don't even feel like my video that I did in American Marriage did it justice, but I really hope that if you watch that video, you really went to read that book, because that book was just like, wow. So Silver Sparrow is about a man who has 2 families living not far from each other, 2 wives, and in his 2 households, he has 2 daughters around the same age. Which I'm like, I don't know how anybody finds the time or energy, but good for him for keeping it up for so long. And he also has his adopted brother. They're not brothers by birth, but they're basically brothers. Raleigh, I think that's how you'd say his name, who's basically in on it. And there are all these... I consumed the book. I think I read it in 4 days. I really enjoyed this book. I really, really enjoyed this book. It did leave me a bit... like it took the wind out of my sails, in the sense that we're so used to receiving, I guess, as story consumers, and on my part also telling stories, resolutions. Really hoped that it was going to work out for this family, because the pursuit of peace is important to me on an individual level.
She says, as she thinks of all the times she's caused disruption in my own life and in other people's. But
anyway, the pursuit of peace is very important, but also the pursuit of being as true to oneself as possible. And a lot of the time, we don't even know what that is. You know, this isn't about me. No, this is about the book. These are all the things that came out in the perspective of the secret daughter. And then second part of the book, we are the perspective of the claimed daughter, the daughter that's out in the world, that's, you know, living her life quite openly, believing that she's the only child of her father, and that, you know, her dad's her dad and no one else's dad in that sense. And, you know, the book gets on, and you get to the point where literally you're consuming the pages because you're like, they're going to find out. People are going to find out. It's all going to go to shit. And there's a part where the mother of the daughter, who is out in the open, the known mother and daughter, is so heartbroken. Hearts are really fragile things. And I mean, it's a book, innit? But it's a reflection. It's a translation. It's a offering of life. And this mother is trying to pick herself back up. Or not even, I don't even think she's trying to pick herself back up in that moment. She's more just like, blah, blah, all over the place. And she says to her daughter, anybody can do anything at any time. Which is such a sobering and slightly scary, if not very scary, statement, but also very true, very honest, very alive. Part of being alive is being able to do anything at any time, but we have to choose if it's within our capacity to do the right thing, if we can, at the right times. But, you know, especially for the character of the father, James, who isn't described as like this, you know, hunk of a man who's like, you know, has ladies falling off him, like dripping off him, all this other stuff. He's described as a pretty ordinary man. And I think that's I think that's where the heartbreak comes from, you know. This man, very ordinary in the sense that surely he should be loyal to either one or the other family. But in his loyalty to both, he's disloyal to himself and both. I'm rambling, go with me, right? That he, oh God, lives his life on a knife edge. And I think that's where the heartbreak for both parties come from.
It's a really powerful book.
And the more I like ruminate on it, hold my cup of hot water and lemon and ruminate on the thought of the book, I find that I'm like, gosh, if we as black women are going to at least survive unscathed in this world, we almost need to keep ourselves to ourselves. But also, that's not a way to experience life, do you know what I mean? You have to walk the plank. You have to walk out in faith and hope and pray that you don't drown. I think it's a very powerful book. I think it's a very sad book. There were moments of joy and moments of like real love. Like one of the characters says to another, like, I love you and you don't even know it. Like you don't even know that people love you. And it takes the other character on a journey where she's like, oh my God, people love me and I didn't know, because that character feels pretty ordinary. I also think that it's really unfortunate that our aesthetics as human beings go before who we are as a person. There's one line where she said something like, pretty ain't easy. Even though everyone reckons it is. Pretty ain't easy. You know? And love makes you do crazy things. Like there's a motif also in the book where they speak about Al Green and the hot grits that the woman Mary, who was actually, if you read the book, you should probably discover this for yourself, because I was reading it and I was like, is this true? And then I went and obviously Googled and researched this. In Yoruba culture, they speak it, they have parables mean certain things. Like my mom told me one the other day when we went for a walk, and obviously my Yoruba is not fantastic, but it was basically, we saw a car speeding past and my mom said this Yoruba parable, and it translated as, no matter how quick you drive, you're not going to miss your front door. And no matter how slow you walk, you're not going to sleep outside. We're both going to reach the same destination. It's just going to take us different times. But what in Yoruba is sweeter. It sounds sweeter. It's a better parable, basically. And there are certain things that, like, what I'm trying to say is that there are certain things that Americans know that also, I guess, layer their lives in the sense that when they know this about Al Green, or if they don't know that about Al Green and Mary, it does or doesn't lay their life. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent and it might not have made sense. But what I'm saying is, like, the book also carries a motif about, you know, dangerous love, which reminded me of when I was reading Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison, where one of the characters is like obsessed with the man that she attempts many times to kill him because he's not reciprocating the love that she literally is existing on. And when I read these bits in the book that came up a few times, I was like, oh, that reminds me of that, that reminds me of that. And then when it gets to a certain point of the book, it goes, when you love a man that much, it's time to let him go. When you love a man to the point of killing him, You want to kill him, or you want to like pour hot grits on somebody's body, or you want to poison their tea. You know, in America, there's crimes of passion. I remember one of my another actor that I was working with, the workshop with, he told me this, well, he told me his own personal story, which was insane, but obviously I'm not going to say because that's not my story to share. But he was like, yeah, when he was living in either it was DC or somewhere, the crimes of passion were a thing where women would either, you know, take the lives of their partners or maim them, and you know, it would go under crimes of passion, and sometimes they wouldn't be punished for their crimes because it made sense. I'm not saying for me personally that kind of crime makes sense, but it made sense on a scale that if a man has betrayed your love, and I'm saying man, but let's just talk about the one part of the partner has betrayed your love, you go and hurt them. Because sometimes words aren't enough. I mean, for me, words are great because this is where I read books. It all communicates that. But for some people, words aren't enough. And if you don't have words, then you have... And at any moment, at any time, if you don't have real discipline over self and mind, and do you know what I mean? You can cause somebody some harm. Scary stuffs. Scary stuffs. I love the way Tayari describes people. There's one line where she was like, the pimp dip in his walk. The pimp dip. Hell yeah. I'm here for all that. All that. It talks about a coffee and how, you know, a simple coffee can start a day, or a coffee can start a life. Listen, I've read this book now, so don't be asking me to go for no coffee with you, because it might be starting a life. A lifestyle. I was captivated. I learned stuff. I learned about things that I didn't know. And I also learned about myself, do you know? I don't know about you guys. This is going on 15 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up. I don't know about you guys, but when I read books, I'm just like, wow, I'm learning this about myself, how I feel about certain stances I take on situations, and how easy it is for someone to be like, well, I would do that if I was in that situation. But you got to be in that situation, and God forbid any of us are in those kind of strange situations where, you know, shit gets difficult. I don't know what the best thing is to do. I just think that we must all journey on. Journey on in the life of the pursuit of peace, the pursuit of honouring oneself, that's 2, and the pursuit of, I want to say, safe love. Safe love. Because I think that dangerous love ain't for everybody. Safe love. That's it for me, guys. I'll see you on the next book.
People say that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But they're wrong. What doesn't kill you doesn't kill you. And that's all you get. Sometimes you just have to hope that that's enough.